Franny, k.stein, mad scientist. Lunch walks among us. Chapter 9. Lunch doesn't agree with me. The next day at school, while the kids were doing their math problems, Miss Shelley took Franny over to one side and talked to her. "How's the experiment going?" she asked. "It's great. I understand them. I think we're becoming friends. They seem to like me better if I go along with the things they like." "Are you sure that's for the best?" Miss Shelley asked. Well, that's what the data seem to suggest," Franny said. She showed Miss Shelley some graphs to back it up. But I like you, the real you." Miss Shelley was about to continue when the piercing scream tore through the room. "The trash can!" a little girl shrieked. "It's moving!" Franny's mad scientist brain raced. That was the trash can in which she had dumped her crab ravioli on the pumpkin sauce on 2 days ago. But an old lunch all by itself was not enough to start paranormal reaction. "Who else put something in that can?" Franny asked. "I spit out my gum in here," one girl shouted. "I threw my pair of old gloom shoes in there," one other boy said. "I saw a janitor dump some trash in there," another girl said. "Egad," said Franny. "That was close." "Well, as nobody put anything as table in industrial waste in there, we should be fine." "Oh yeah," said one boy. "I forgot. I put some unstable industrial waste in there." "Gadzooks!" Franny shouted. "That is in fact formula for a giant monster friend." The other kids looked at her. They looked scared, not just on the mention of a giant monstrous friend. Fiend, although the prospect of the giant monstrous fiend was no comfort. They were also afraid of Franny. They were looking at her in the ways they used to before they had become her friends. "I mean," Franny stammered, "that's what I would think if the weird mad scientist type little girl, which of course I'm not." They smiled at her again. Just then, the trash can interrupt the volcano. As the smoke settled, the kids saw, for the first time, the type of a giant, monstrous find that a mad scientist type girl would have predicted. Chapter 10. That's no jack-o'-lantern. The giant monstrous friend stood there chewing gum at the breathing angrily. Its head was a pumpkin, and its body looked like a crab's. It was wearing the same old shoes and just dripping the industrial waste. Franny hoped it would just jump out of the window and go away. And to her surprise, the pumpkin crab monster jumped out of the window and went away. Unfortunately, it grabbed Miss Shelley before it left. With a crash and a scream, the pumpkin crab monster and her teacher were gone. The kids just stood there. They didn't know how to help. A few tried crying. A few tried screaming. One tried wetting his pants. Although later on he admitted he had no idea why he thought that might help. Some of Franny's new friends hugged her and shrieked, but Franny did not shriek. Franny thought. Out of the window, pumpkin crab monster was climbing the flagpole and Miss Shelley. There's no way that Miss Shelley is going to get away from that monster thing. It was holding her tight and climbing higher and higher. Franny looked at her friends. She really liked them, and she was happy they liked her. She had hoped they would always be her friends, but still, she knew what to do. Franny reached into her backpack and pulled a viral. It said antidote in it. Guys, she said gently, if you all get your lunches, I think I know what might help able to do. The kids ignored her. They just ran away. We ran in little circles and getting more scared and confused. Really, guys, really, I think I know what we need. Franny spoke a little louder this time, but they still ignored her. We need a fireman, one girl said. We need a superhero, one boy said. We need to dry pants, said you-know-who. Franny stood up. Outside, lightning cracked. What we need to do, she said, is a mad scientist, which I am. She uncorked the antidote and drank it. She began to cough and sputter and spit. She fell into the ground and scrunched down in a little ball. She stood up and felt herself return to normal. Franny, the little girl mad scientist, was back. Chapter 11. It's mad scientist's time. Franny looked at the kids. They looked even more afraid of her now than they ever had before. She thought about trying to be sweet or less scary, but that just wasn't going to get something done. Do as I command, she said to the most scary mad scientist voice. Go get your lunches. The kids stopped running in circles and ran to get their lunches. Mad scientists even were only 4 feet tall and can be very persuasive. But put the bread on one pile and the lunch meat on another, she barked. The kids did as they were told and quickly disassembled their sandwiches. Franny was busy examining the bottom of the trash can. I think there's just enough of this unstable industrial waste left on the trick. Franny worked fast. She told the kids exactly how to arrange the lunch meat and how to get the bread ready. They were afraid, but they did what she said, and they did it quickly. Being the only mad scientist around, she was the expert on stable industrial waste, so she took care of that personally. Then Franny pulled a needle and thread from her backpack. "This will require absolute silence," she said, and the kids watched her begin stitching the lunch meat together. Franny worked quickly as the kids watched in terror. Occasionally handing her a potential slice of salami or bungalow when she so introduced. They knew what they're watching, something not in this world, something no human eyes had ever seen before. And that in the moment, the pants weather decided to let loose one more time. Chapter 12. Ham I Am. Finally, Franny walked sullenly across the room and washed snips of ham and smears and mustard off her hands on the stink. She sighed in a deep, satisfied sigh and turned to gaze on her creation. There was, standing motionlessly in the middle of the classroom, a giant monster thing made entirely a glistening, delicious bungalow, ham, salami, pickle loaf, and a ham. The time had come to provide this creature with the awesome power source it would need to come alive. Franny grasped its salami nose and slid two batteries up to its nostrils. "Awaken," she commanded. The creature's eyes slowly opened. It growled and looked at Franny. The kids clung to one another in fear. "The flagpole," Franny ordered, and the creature began to walking stiffly toward the wall. In a mighty punch, it smashed its way through the headed outside. "Bread!" Franny yelled, and the kids following Franny's plan, began pushing the pile of bread over the base of the flagpole. The lunch meat creature grabbed the pole and shook it. Miss Shelley screamed, and the kids gasped. "Shake harder!" Franny commanded. The lunch meat creature shook and shook until finally the crunching crab monster dropped Miss Shelley. Chapter 13. The Final Inning. Franny watched calmly as Miss Shelley fell toward the ground, screaming. Then the loudest puff sound anybody had ever heard. Miss Shelley fell right into the big, squishy pile of white bread, completely unharmed. Franny turned to the lunch meat creature. "Now, my lunch meat abomination, go get that pumpkin-headed creep." The lunch meat creature grabbed the flagpole tightly and pulled the bungalow-flavored sweet dripped off his forehead. Finally, the monstrous groan. The lunch meat creature tripped the flagpole right out of the ground, causing a very angry pumpkin crab monster to fall at the hit of the pavement on the ground-shaking crash. The pumpkin crab monster got its feet and growled. It began stomping towards the kids. It was almost on top of them when Franny, the only kid, did not look worried, calmly whistled. Suddenly, a cloud of bats flew from the sky and grabbed the pumpkin crab monster by its arms. "Batter up," she said. The bats flew as fast as they could with the pumpkin crab monster, and they headed right for the lunch meat creature who had the flagpole up its shoulder. The bats dropped the burden just in time for the lunch meat creature to bring the pole around a giant baseball bat and connect it with the pumpkin crab monster as if it were giant stinky softball. With a loud crack and hurtling off from the